Hello, everyone. My name is Stephen Munatones, and I am, oh, sorry about this light. My name is Stephen Munatones, and let me get, I'm the CEO and co-founder of KAATSU Global, and thank you very much for attending this uh, Cyber Monday, Black Friday webinar Q&A session. Um, we had a nice session yesterday, and there was lots of different questions. And if you have questions, you can put them in the chat area. I've already received several questions. I'm going to put in the first six or seven in right now, um, and I'll just start off uh, with the first one. And let me get this Japanese samurai music off. So the first question is, and there in no particular order and no particular logical sequence. So the first question that we received between yesterday and today was what is the difference between the C4 model and the B2 model? And the difference is quite simple. I right now have the B2 model on one arm, just one only for demonstration purposes. And the B2 model doesn't have any tubes that are connected to it. The other models that we have include a variety of tubes that go from the product to the bands. And I'm pulling them up here. So this is the C4. It's connected by a series of tubes to a band, whereas the B2 just has the controller unit here and the band. The B2 is controlled by an app. I have the app on right now. I'm going to turn it off and start from the very beginning. So the app looks like this, and it's free to download whether you have an iPhone or an Android. And it's got a complicated menu, but as you get the product, you'll find out what it is. I'm just going to hit the advanced mode right now and go to a very convenient one. Right now, the unit is on, so I'm preparing it. Have my arms, and there we go. So you can sort of hear the compressor. There's a compressor inside, a battery, and a circuit board. That's all there is. The compressor pushes out air into the bands. And the same thing is true for the C4. This is very similar to this, except it has a control screen. And you control the airflow through this screen, or on the case of the B2, the app. In the case of the C4, sorry for the lighting, it has the same cycle advanced, um, and it's got all the information. So that's one difference, no tubes. Second difference, the B2 is controlled by app. Third difference is this is a standalone device. When it runs, no data is connected. In the case of the B2, data is collected on your app. And in that app, what happens is you get a variety of data, and it's either called usage data or session data. And both of these have a bunch of information that you can either keep for yourself, share, analyze, and you can share it with your doctor, your physical therapist, your friends, your spouse, your family, and anybody who you would like to share your personal data with. Um, So those are the main issues. The band size for both the B2 and the C4, and in fact, all of our products, including the previous version of C3, they all use the same size bands, whether it's the arms or legs. The protocols are all the same. We've never changed our protocols, never changed our band sizes, with lengths, or anything. So the bands are the things that actually press against your skin. And what do the bands do? When doesn't matter whether it's the C4 or B2, what happens is the bands inflate and deflate. Fundamentally, that's all the bands do. They inflate and deflate. Now you could tell the bands um, how they should be, how much should they inflate, how long should they inflate, and this gives you control over. You're looking for performance. Maybe you want to build muscle. Maybe, and I'm sorry about this light is getting me right in the eye, so I'm going to turn it off. It wasn't doing that yesterday. Anyway, so the bands inflate and deflate. When they inflate, the circumference of the band goes smaller, and therefore blood goes into the arm normally. But when the band circumference is smaller, the blood flow back is slowed down. And when the blood flow back slows down, what happens is a phenomenon and we call KAATSU color. So this hand is my normal color hand, and this hand is my hand when the bands are inflated. It's pinker, it's rosier, and sometimes it'll get even red. And why does that happen? Blood goes into the arm normally. We call that arterial flow, blood from the torso out to your hands or out to your feet. And that continues normally. It's not occluded, not cut off, although some people think this is a tourniquet. A tourniquet cuts off or occludes blood flow. This does not occlude or cut off blood flow. But what happens is the returning blood, which we call venous return, the venous return is slowed down when that circumference gets smaller. And when it's slowed down, what happens is the blood, the capillaries and veins of your arm or your leg are engorged in blood. And therefore, that leads to your normal color hand changing to a rosy or red color hand. And that's what we want. That is exactly what we want. Now, we had a question. One of the earlier questions was, and it's an important one, and some people are confused. Why do we always say when you do the cut cycle, first start on your arms, put the bands on your two arms, and then take them off and put them on your two legs? The reason we do this is because between 2004 and 2014, before we started the company, KAATSU Global, we did a 10-year study by a team of cardiologists on over 12,000 patients. Of those 12,000 patients, over 2,000 were cardiac rehab patients. So people who had had a heart attack, stroke, had a stent implanted, had some kind of heart disease, heart surgery, etc. So we were working on KAATSU with a very vulnerable population. We found out during those 10 years, if we started KAATSU on the legs first and not the arms, what would happen is when that blood returned back, so remember, we had compression and then decompression, inflation and then deflation. In the deep compression phase or the deflation phase, what happens is a whoosh of blood, a certain amount of engorged blood comes back to the torso. For patients who have cardiac issues, there was this rush of blood that would enter their heart and they would become lightheaded. Now, it didn't happen with anybody, it happened with a small number of people. And so we looked into that further. And what we found is when we did the arms first, the vascular elasticity of your entire system improved or increased. So it was not only the vascular tissue of your arms that became more elastic, it also was true in the rest of your body, including your legs. And therefore, when you have cuts on your arms first, and then you go to your legs are already vascularly improved, or the blood circulation is better. And therefore, when we release the band in that deflation or decompression phase, there is a rush of blood, but the body is already prepared for that because it already had been doing KAATSU first. So, in abundance of caution, because we don't know, someone may have an undiagnosed cardiac issue, um, we always recommend that you do arms first and then legs. Now, we know there are some people who prefer to do legs all the time. We know that there are some people who prefer to do legs before arms. In these cases, you're still safe unless you come into this very, very small group of people who do vigorous exercise, are not well hydrated, who do not do the cut cycle, but do the KAATSU constant, do the legs first, and you do some form of vigorous exercise. In these cases, you can become lightheaded. So in order to avoid that situation, we always recommend being well hydrated, doing the cut cycle mode, starting off in low pressure, and not doing vigorous exercises in the constant mode. If you do all that, then KAATSU is safe. And those are the findings that we had in that 10-year period by tested by 12,000 people tested by a team of cardiologists. So that's the reason why we recommend arms before legs. Um, the third question is, how do I know what pressure level to start with? It's very easy. The pressure level to start with, always, without exception, 100% of the time, is low pressure. Now, some people associate low pressure with people who are unfit or not strong or um, older, and that's not true. We always want everybody, whether they're an Olympic athlete or a professional athlete, a soldier, a young fit person, someone who's older and is extraordinarily fit, to always start at low pressure. In the same way that if you're going to go out for a run, you put on your shoes, you walk outside, and you don't go sprinting right away. You warm up into it. We also want to warm up our vascular tissue. So we always want everybody to start on low pressure. And then if you would like, then you can go to medium and high in that order. So start off with low pressure, then go to medium and high. Now, how do you know how to proceed from low pressure to medium to high? And it's a concept we call capillary refill time, or CRP, I'm sorry, CRT, capillary refill time. And the capillary refill time is when you have your hand, and whether you have KAATSU on it, you can press a finger into your hand, release it, it goes slightly white, and then refills with blood. In the same way with your KAATSU hand, what you want to do is the same thing, press firmly into the palm of your hand, and then release. And that blood should come back, should fill back up within a second or two. If it's 3 seconds or more, then it's either the band is too tight, you're dehydrated, or the pressure is too high. So you want the pressure to be just right. For some people, that means a medium or high. For some people, that means low. But for everybody should start off in a low pressure. So you get low pressure, put your finger, firmly press it into your hand, release, and that blood should fill back up within a second or two. And what do I mean by a second? It is press, release, 1001, 1002, 1003. So if the blood fills up before you get to 1001, very good. If you get somewhere between 1001 and 1002, good. If it's 1001, 1002, 1003, and this is still white, then the band is either placed too tightly or the pressure is too high. So the answer to the first or the second or third question is make sure that your band pressure is always low. And Chris Morgan, our Chief Performance Officer, has just joined us. Chris is a former Olympic coach. He's coached and taught KAATSU to everybody from Major League Baseball players at the Boston Red Sox and elsewhere to the NHL players, professional ice hockey, to Olympic champions from bobsled to track and field, swimming. He's taught KAATSU to soldiers, special operators, and people who do not have limbs, amputees, and a variety of other people. So welcome, Chris. And I see you have
Thank,
your B2, both of your B2 bands on. So thank you very much.
yeah, I'm
If
on
there's
the,
anything that you want to add to anything I say,
no, it was,
go ahead
yeah,
and just jump in there.
wonderful. And apologies again for arriving late my second night.
No
And
problem.
I did mention in the chat just for everyone, if we don't get to any of your questions, please email us at info@kaatsu.com. I put that in the chat. But yeah, no, appreciate you having me, Steve, and here to answer questions. We do have a couple questions in the Q&A, Steve, if you see.
Yeah,
Um, So I have two, so you might have more because you logged on before me.
yeah. So, Chris, I'm answering questions that were received between last night's webinar and the beginning of this webinar. Um,
Perfect, perfect.
and so the next question is, how long should the KAATSU session be? In this case, the KAATSU session, whether it's the C4 or the B2, we have set the number of cycle sets to a maximum of 6. So here you have the cycle mode. If I turn it on and I press something, oops, let me go back. The number of sets is here. You can increase it to a maximum of 6 sets. And so 6 is a very good number that will take you on your arms about 40 minutes, on your legs a little bit more. So that's a good session, very good session. Now, if you first started, I would not recommend that you do 6 sessions right away. It's sort of like if you're training for a marathon and the very first day that you train for your marathon, you go out for a very, very long run. Like anything, moderation is good. A gradual increase is what we recommend. So if you do 1 or 2 or 3 sets in the first week or so, and then gradually increase the number of sets to 4 and then 5 and then 6. That's very good. So how long should a session be? Once your body gets acclimated to it, your session should be at most 40 to 45 minutes. That is on your arms and then on your legs. So your total session, if you would like it to be a full session, could be up to 90 minutes. And that's pretty long. Now, you don't have to be working out vigorously the entire 90 minutes. In fact, we strongly recommend that you do not. You should be using the cut cycle, and you could be doing what we call micro movements. That could be texting on your phone, typing emails. It could be wiping a kitchen counter. It could be folding clothes. It could be writing a letter. It could be blow drying your hair. It could be a variety of very simple household movements. If you would like to do a weight training session, then 40 minutes with the KAATSU cycle is quite long. That's a quite a vigorous workout. If you're up to it, great. But again, we recommend starting at one or two cycles, which would put you between 7 and 14 minutes. Um, when you do any cut session, make sure that you're very well hydrated. That means you've been drinking water or some kind of electrolyte drink or something prior to starting katsu, and then continue thereafter. In the same way that when you go take your blood, a blood draw or donate blood, they recommend that you are well hydrated. And so the phlebotomist can poke you and draw the blood. Same way, if you're dehydrated, your vascular tissue is not as responsive as you are when you're very well hydrated. And what do I mean by well hydrated? If you urinate, then that urine color should not be bright yellow. It should be more toward the clear side. So those are our recommendations. Now, of course, if you are paraplegic, if you have cerebral palsy, if you are bedridden, there are a number of different scenarios that the amount of pressure or duration can differ. So if you have a question, let's say I'm diabetic and I just started an exercise program and I've been sedentary most of the last 10 years, then we would recommend doing KAATSU a certain way. That would be doing KAATSU while you're sitting down. That would be KAATSU without vigorous exercise. If you're a collegiate athlete and you're preparing for an upcoming season, then that would be completely different. Then in this case, you would do more cut cycles at a higher pressure, doing some kind of vigorous exercise in preparation for your athletic season. The next question is, how soon can I expect to see results? The answer there is, it depends. So both Chris and I have worked with a variety of athletes or individuals who maybe they had a frozen shoulder, maybe they had tendonitis, maybe they were an amputee and they were either in pain or they had very limited movement. We have done sessions on numerous people. We're talking numerous people where they may have had an old shoulder injury, or they may have frozen shoulder, or they may have tremendous pain because of some injury or tendonitis or whatever. And when we do the COT session, in these cases, the results have been immediate, absolutely immediate. During the COT session, if someone has a frozen shoulder, we have asked them to move their shoulder, and all of a sudden, we've had numerous cases. All of a sudden, the person says, "What just happened to us?" Now, those are the outliers. Most people, whatever the results you would like, and some people use KAATSU for weight loss program. Some people use it for a weight gain program, increasing strength. Some people use it for um, reduction of varicose veins. In all of these um, goals, the effects of KAATSU differs greatly. It varies due to frequency, and what we recommend is you do it daily. If you have a very specific short-term goal, whether that's losing weight for an upcoming wedding, whether it is someone with knee pain who has to give a speech in front of a group, whether it's an athlete who has an injury, but their playoffs are coming up shortly. In these cases, we actually recommend that you do KAATSU 2 or 3 different sessions per day. So morning, afternoon, evening. Again, it doesn't have to be a very specific session where you're dropping everything and then going into the weight room and pumping iron. It could be simply using the bands on your arms or your legs, as Chris and I are doing during the course of your day. So how soon can you expect to see results? Like anything, a surgeon doing some kind of knee surgery, they note the general time that it would take the average patient to come back. There's a range. Some people are quicker, some people are longer, and then you have the exceptions to the rule. Same thing with KAATSU. But you can see faster results if you use KAATSU daily and you use KAATSU on your arms or legs. So as Chris mentioned, if you have a very specific goal and you want to understand what is the range of timetables that you can expect, email us at info@kaatsu.com. Provide us as much information as you wish, and then we will give our recommendations on what protocols you should use, the frequency of use, how do you use it, and the different applications so you could see the fastest results possible. Next question is, what should I do if the bands feel uncomfortable? First and foremost, the bands should not feel uncomfortable. If the bands feel uncomfortable, something is wrong. Immediately take off the bands. Simply undo the Velcro and take them off. And then think about what you just experienced. Were you hydrated? Do you feel lightheaded? Um, was there some exercise that you were doing that just made you feel badly? Always take off your bands. If you feel lightheaded in any way, lie down, put your feet up, um, and this is what you should do. The person who asked that question, if they have a specific example of what they did, absolutely email us at info@kaatsu.com, and we can help assess what the possible causes were and how to avoid those in the future. The next question is, how does KAATSU affect blood pressure? So the primary first tier effect of KAATSU is to actually increase your vascular tissue. So it makes it more elastic. We know that as we age in general, our elasticity of our vascular tissue will decrease. With KAATSU, we want to maintain the ability for our capillaries, arteries, and blood pressure, capillaries, arteries, and veins to be as elastic as possible. The more elastic uh, your vascular tissue is, the better you're able to maintain blood pressure. Now, blood pressure is impacted for a variety of reasons. One could be lack of sleep, one could be all kinds of stress, one could be some kind of medications or other things you're putting in your body. It could be everything from overabundance of fast food to smoking. So if you do KAATSU, it will help your vascular tissue increase elasticity. And if nothing else changes or you have no overriding impact on the elasticity of your vascular tissue, your blood pressure is more than likely improve. Now, you could be doing KAATSU, but if you have other circumstances or situations that's negatively impacting your blood pressure, and that could be food or drink or medication, a sedentary lifestyle, you name it, go on and on and on. KAATSU will most likely not be able to overcome those lifestyle issues. But if in combination with lifestyle changes and KAATSU, that vascular elasticity will improve. Let's see. Okay, so we'll get to the questions, um, Chris, that you were mentioning. The first one is, um, does it work out okay to have one KAATSU C4 unit and use it with the bands for two different size people, each with their own bands? Or is there some complication with changing settings? No. Good question. A lot of people are a little bit confused by that. So if you have the C4 And whether you have bands that are small, medium, large, or extra large, the bands will inflate to a certain level, no matter what the size bands are. And the reason why is, and I'm going to turn my B2 on. I turned it off momentarily. Go. So the band is now inflating, and I hope you can sort of see the oval shape of the band. And the pressure is measuring the the pressure of your arm or leg against the band. So I'm going to hold my band here, and you can see this pressure changing as I squeeze the band. It doesn't matter the size of the air bladder in size. It does not matter if the band is a small or extra large. That pressure is is the same relative scale, no matter what the band, no matter what the size or height or weight of the individuals are. So we have a lot of teams, college teams. We have a lot of pro teams. We have a lot of um, family units, husband and wife, brother or sister, boyfriend, girlfriend, and two friends who have two different size bands, but they use the same controller unit. And that's the universality of our units and our bands. So it does not matter. You could be using the same kind of bands. Next question is, what type of personal data is collected by the B2? Well, the first personal data is your name and your email um, and your cell phone number. And that's so we can connect the app with the band itself. Once you input that information, we also ask you to input your date of birth. Reason why we include the date of birth is because if you use our pulse oximeter, what happens is when you turn on the unit, you can set this to automatically shut down if the parameters of if the parameters that you set are exceeded. So in other words, let's say that I am 63 years old, so I input my birth date of July 28, 1962, but I set the maximum heart rate to be, let's say, 170 beats per minute. When I do KAATSU, I don't want to go over 170 beats a minute. I don't even come close to that, but let's say I did. Let's say I was using KAATSU bands on my legs and then running up 10 flights of stairs. I can guarantee that my heart rate would go above 170. In this case, we use the birth date in order to calculate when the maximum heart rate should shut down for safety purposes. We also do that for SpO2 or oxygen saturation. So in other words, we don't want you to exceed a certain maximum heart rate, and we don't want you to go under a minimum oxygen saturation rate. These are safety features that we built into the app, and therefore we need your birth date in order to calculate those. Now you could override those and manually set your minimum and maximum levels, but this is the personal data we collect on the B2. Name, email, and telephone number, and that's simply to connect the app to the actual unit, and then your birth date. And the birth date is used when you set minimum or maximum heart rate and oxygen saturation rates. Other data that's included is the frequency of use. Are you using it once a day, twice a day, or twice a week? The amount of pressure that you use, low, medium, and high, and if you use custom, somewhere between 0 and 400 SKU. And we also collect what mode you're using. So a cycle mode, progressive cycle mode, or constant mode. And we record the time of day that you do your session. So let's say you got injured and your physical therapist says, I want you to do these exercises twice a day for the next week. Then your physical therapist, if he or she opts in and you give them permission, they can confirm that you did or used the B2 twice a day, or maybe on Sunday you didn't use it at all. Maybe on Saturday you just use it one time. So this is the information that we collect, and it's available to you. We don't share it with anybody unless you direct the app to share the information with others. And as others could be your coach, your trainer, your physician, your physical therapist, or a spouse, a family member, or friend. Um, Relative to the quality build of the device, C4 being my choice, what would you say is the longevity experience of the device with moderate daily use? The units themselves are quite sturdy. So these, unless you drop them or they're crushed by something, they're quite sturdy. The longevity is almost always, I almost always due to the band. The bands are hand sewn because there's many materials that aren't here, and after use, I would say um, with moderate use is somewhere between a year and 2 years. Now, Chris and I have some of the very first B2 units, and I think that was 3 years. Now, my unit, if you looked at it, would be almost brand new. But how do I use it? I use it literally here in my office every day. I put it on my desk, I put it on my arm, and that's what I do. I don't, the only time it is not either on my arm or on the table by my desk is when I'm traveling. And when I travel, I put it in a bag, put it in my computer bag, and use it as I'm going. So I would say my use is less than moderate. I do it every day, but I'm not going to the gym. I'm not using it in a robust manner. And so um, it's never failed in 3 years. I don't have any uh, loose stitching or anything, but I, Chris and I were taught this phrase by a Navy SEAL, John Doolittle, and he said, "You take care of your kit, and your kit will take care of you." What he was referring to was his military gear, but it really struck me as if you take care of the COTS equipment, it will last. I know when I went to New York City, it was last year sometime, I visited a customer of ours, and I was sitting in his lobby, and a woman came in. He's a personal trainer. A woman came in, and she had one of our original units that we made in 2014. She didn't know who I was. I recognized the unit. It was a KAATSU Nano unit. And I was shocked. I said, I haven't seen one of those in a long time. And she says, Oh, do you know KAATSU? I said, Yes, I happen to be the CEO. And she goes, Oh my gosh, I've been using this since 2014. Now we only have a few of those users remaining. Chris, I think you have a KAATSU Nano also.
I
And
do,
so
yes, and my wife still uses it.
yeah, and I know your wife who works retail uses every day after work. So um,
Every day. Yeah.
yeah, but it is the bands that are the weak point in the bands. Sorry, in our system, because they're the ones that, especially for people who go to the gym a lot, or use it in a vigorous manner, maybe they're gardening or other things, those tend to be with a lot of movement, or walking outside, et cetera, on the leg bands. Those bands could get worn, and I would say moderate daily use, using vigorously, meaning more than what I do, would be between 1 and 2 years. And the bands can be replaced. Um, Next question is, can you use KAATSU leg bands while sitting in a wheelchair? Yes. We do that all the time with our amputees, with our paraplegic individuals, with our people who are older, or people who have had some kind of lower body surgery. So the only thing we have to do with the leg bands on the wheelchairs, you have to lift up your leg a bit so you can slide the band under them and put them on. But we always recommend that you should be putting on your leg bands while you are seated anyway. And so use in a wheelchair is an excellent use of KAATSU. Let's see. Next question is, I'm a senior citizen in my 70s. Oh, I'm sorry. A senior citizen in their 70s needs to build muscle. How would KAATSU be used? In the beginning and every day, that senior citizen in their 70s should be doing exactly what Chris and I are doing right now, is sitting comfortably with the bands on their arms and then on their legs. They can do what we call the KAATSU 3-point exercises, and that's when the bands are on and you're doing hand clenches, repeated hand clenches, and then bicep curls, and then tricep extensions. That's it. You can also do stuff like isometric pushes. So you're in the hands in the praying position and you push them together, or you're gripping and you're going, pulling your arms apart. You can take a tennis ball and squeeze, and you could do just regular stretching, whatever that is. And that would be for your upper body. For your lower body, you can still remain seated. You can do toe curls, toe raises, heel raises, rotation of your ankles. You can stand up. You can do what we call quarter squats. So don't bend down at 90 degrees, but bend down at 45 degrees. Do squats. You can do KAATSU walking. And if you would like to work on your core, you can stand up with the bands on your legs, stand on one leg or one foot and just balance. If you can't balance that well, hold on to a chair or table or wall. And then over time, you should be able to balance with the KAATSU bands on your legs on one foot. When you get tired, switch to the other foot. Those are some of the ways that you can work your core. So again, you don't need weights. You don't need resistance bands or anything. You can do that. But if you wanted to put a little resistance, get 2 water bottles and do the bicep curls with water bottles in your hand. Do lunges with water bottles in your hands. Do squats with water bottles in your hands. So everything very gently. No need to get your heart rate skyrocketing high. And always use a KAATSU cycle. Always start on the low pressure. Always make sure that your hands or your feet are nice and rosy and pink when you're doing KAATSU, and you should be able to build muscle. We've proven at the University of Tokyo Hospital that we could build muscle on people as old as 104 years old. That 104-year-old actually grew 22% more muscle mass in her thighs. And what does that enable her to do? That enables her to more easily walk up and down stairs, more easily carry groceries from the store. And so um, she didn't do anything other than some heel raises, some squats, and other things that I just explained. Let's see. Next question is, any detailed write-up on the physiology of KAATSU. Once I saw an article in Applied Physiology, but I'm unable to retrack it. Uh, this we have we have a lot of information on the actual physiology, the biological mechanisms that occur when you're using KAATSU. Um, we can provide you all of those data on PDF files. Just email us at info@kaatsu.com. And we will not only provide you with a textbook on KAATSU, but also numerous studies, including that study that you're referring to. It was a study, I forgot the exact title, but it was published in the year 2000 in the Journal of Applied Physiology. And it was actually the first, it was a seminal paper on BFR. If uh, and when we look at it, almost all of the future or 2000 year on studies are based on that original study in the year 2000. So um, uh, yeah, just ask us that for that information. We'll send it right out to you. Um, Next question is what kind of regime, what kind of training program uh, would you recommend for a 98-year-old? I would assume the 98-year-old is interested in increasing muscle strength, maybe mobility, maybe some stamina, and that kind of individual, whether you're 98, 88, or 108, always use a cut cycle. Always be well hydrated when you do it. Be sitting down comfortably or standing up. There's no need for you to do jumping burpees or anything. Just do very slow and steady movements, whether it's your upper arm or lower body. And again, we call it the KAATSU 3-point exercises. Those were actually developed um, with the team of cardiologists, with the people who were older and had cardiac issues, and those included hand clenches, bicep curls, tricep extensions, um, toe raises, heel raises, leg curls, and quarter squats. And if you wanted to work on your core, balancing on one foot. So those should all be done while you're using the cut cycle mode. So pressure on, pressure off. And it could be as short as 10 minutes or as long as 90 minutes, depending on how your body acclimates to it and the amount of strength that you want to do. Nobody has to do 90 minutes of KAATSU. You can certainly build up to that, but everything should be done steadily and gently. Nothing fast, nothing vigorous, nothing that would cause you to be lightheaded. Can you talk about the benefits for the brain? So let's consider what we're doing. So Chris has the CUTS bands on his arms, and I'm going to turn my um, CUTS bands on my arm back on, and I'm starting the okay, so it's on. So right now, what's happening is I'm beginning to have more blood in my arm. I just have it on one arm for demonstration purposes. Chris has it on both arms. So right now, I have an incremental amount of an incremental increase of blood in my one arm, this arm versus that arm. And you can see how my veins are popping out and my hand is redder than this hand. So I have more blood in this arm. If I had the bands on my legs, then I'd have more blood in my legs. We only have a finite amount of blood in our body. And so right now, my brain knows instinctively and naturally that it has less blood in my head. So what happens is a thing called angiogenesis, or the creation of new capillaries. And that is what is happening right now. Right now, in my brain, additional capillaries are being created, literally created, because my brain needs more blood flow. And so what's happening as I'm doing the KAATSU cycle, my cerebral blood flow is increasing. And this phenomenon was first um, uh, discovered at the University of Tokyo Hospital in a functional MRI machine when they were doing KAATSU cycles on the legs of individuals, older women actually, and they were in this half functional MRI machine, and they noticed changes in the cerebral blood flow and volume. And so what's happening right now, as my hands or one hand is being engorged in blood, I'm having an increased amount of cerebral blood flow. So my awareness, my cognitive awareness is slightly improved. We know that because in another test at the University of Brighton, amongst competitive athletes, as you can imagine, are best served by being very cognitively aware of the ball or the players around them. And not us, some science researchers at the University of Brighton tested these individuals before and after, or with KAATSU and without KAATSU, and in the cycle mode and in the constant mode. And they found that in the KAATSU cycle mode, our cognitive awareness increased. The reason why it increased is we literally have more blood going in our head right now. Um, there's also a molecule called BDNF, blood brain-derived neurotrophic factor, that is increased. We've done testing on that. There is an increase in alpha wave activity. We've tested for that. And so there are a variety of benefits for KAATSU on the brain. And if you wanted documentation on that, email us at info@kaatsu.com and we can send it out to you. Next question is, I am EMF RF sensitive, so I don't use my iPhone often. I just check my messages. Do I need to keep the iPhone on while using the KAATSU device? You only have to keep the iPhone on if you have the KAATSU B2 model, our wireless Bluetooth model. If you have our C4 unit, you don't you don't have to use a phone at all. This is a standalone device. It's connected to the bands by tubes, and the air goes from the compressor inside here out to the bands and on. So you don't have to use your iPhone, or if you had an Android phone, when you are using the C4 model. And I believe the C4 model is slightly more popular than the B2 model, but they're almost equal in popularity. So it just depends. Some people prefer the wireless with all the bells and whistles of an app, and other people simply want to get cuts done. The protocols are exactly the same. The bands are the same. The dimensions of the bands, the materials of the bands are exactly the same. So you get the same benefits one the other. One just has more data than the other and doesn't have any tubes. So I think we covered most of the questions. Um, Chris, do you see any additional questions that we didn't cover?
No, I think we covered those, and we're a couple minutes away from the end anyway. So pretty good
Okay.
session. Up, we have
Okay.
just one more uh,
One more
one
question.
more question from the same person regarding the Bluetooth versus C4.
Okay. Can I achieve benefits with only one? Do you mean one band, I think? Or
I think they mean with one device. So
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
for
Yeah, you can achieve the same benefits with the C4 as you can do the B2. Same exact thing. It's just some people perhaps have a EMF sensitivity. Other people just don't want to use an app, that's okay. You could use the C4. I just use the B2 actually because I actually had both units in front of me, but the B2 was closer. So I just grabbed that for demonstration purposes. But it works out the same. Oh, I see. So I can buy one unit versus what Chris is using, two on his body. We've never had that request before. Yes, I believe you can buy just one unit. Um, in my opinion, it's sort of like buying one pair of one shoe and not a pair of shoes, but um, it can work just on one arm. Um, what I would recommend is if you prefer arms versus legs or legs versus arms, I would recommend, which we do have a lot of these customers. Some customers only buy the pair of armbands, and some customers only buy a pair of leg bands. But if you only want to buy one armband or one leg band, I think what you should do is email our customer service. We have a 800 number, and they could take care of this special request.
I was just emailing the same thing, Stephen.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. And we'll continue to have these webinars um, all week, including Thanksgiving. And please enjoy a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. But if you have any questions, maybe have your family members over and you're talking about KAATSU, then we'll be available here. All right. Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you, Stephen.
Thank Chris.